You know what? I feel like for much of my life, I have known little about the true nature of the freedom that I enjoy. In the last episode of this vlog, we explored a core idea of New Church teachings that real love must be free. Free to give, free to serve, and yes, even free to reject. But where does that freedom come from? So today I'm going to return to that question and take a deeper look at the nature, the true nature of our freedom. I hope you'll stick around. Hi, I'm Howard, an ordained minister and reader of Swedenborg, and you've joined me at the final episode of our journey through Swedenborg's incredible book, Heaven and Hell. We've covered a lot from the structure of heaven to the nature of hell, from angels and communities to spiritual correspondences. But Swedenborg ends his book by bringing us back to something intimate and essential: our freedom, and the divine balance that makes that freedom possible. Swedenborg teaches that our freedom arises from a spiritual equilibrium, a perfect balance between the inflow of good from heaven and the inflow of evil from hell. And this isn't a metaphor, it's a living spiritual tension that surrounds us all the time. And that's why we're free to think and feel, to choose between good and evil, truth and falsity. Because without that balance, without heaven on one side and hell on the other, we wouldn't be able to make genuine spiritual choices. There would be no room for reformation, no path to salvation. But the Lord maintains that balance constantly for every soul in every moment. We're born into tendencies towards selfishness and harm. But reformation begins when we see those tendencies within ourselves, when we acknowledge them and begin to resist them. But here's the catch. That resistance has to come freely. Swedenborg puts it this way: nothing becomes truly ours unless done from love. That is, from what we truly intend. And we can't intend anything if we're not free, if we are compelled to do anything. So God gives us the space to choose, not to control us, but to give us the power to shape who we are becoming. As Swedenborg says, nothing that comes by compulsion stays with us. The Lord, He never forces. He invites. And the door to heaven remains open, always. So how does this freedom that I'm talking about play out in your daily life? Well, Swedenborg explains we're constantly influenced by both heaven and hell, but through intermediaries. We're not connected directly to angels or demons, but to spirits in the world of spirits who are themselves in contact with heaven or hell. And this middle world, this in-between, the world of spirits, is where we make our choices. It's where our thoughts and our affections are held in freedom, and where the path of our eternal life begins to take shape. Swedenborg closes his book, Heaven and Hell, with reflections on a few key spiritual mechanisms that make all of this possible. There's a kind of freedom that feels like freedom, but is actually bondage. Hellish freedom is the freedom to indulge in selfishness, manipulation, and cruelty. It's the freedom to serve the self above all. But that's not real freedom. It's spiritual slavery. Real freedom, the kind heaven offers, is the freedom to love others, to serve, and to act from truth. That's the kind of freedom the Lord works to give us little by little through the process of regeneration. Every thought and every intention, every spark of life that we experience flows into us from the spiritual world. Good flows in from the Lord through heaven, evil in through hell. And our job in freedom is to choose what we will receive, what we will welcome, and what we will resist. Swedenborg says that we could not live a single moment without that inflow. We are never self-sustaining. We are spiritual receivers. And what we love most determines what we receive the most. Even our connections to spiritual communities, they aren't direct. They're often through agent spirits, emissaries that represent the communities that they come from. And that's a reminder that we are deeply connected beings. Our thoughts and our affections aren't isolated. They resonate with entire spiritual communities. And that's why every small act of good, every step towards love, links us to heaven itself. And that brings us to the end of this book and this series. Thank you so much for walking with me through heaven and hell. Whether you've joined for every episode or dropped in here and there, I hope these reflections have stirred something deep within you. The Swedenborg gives us a vision of the afterlife that isn't just about what happens after death. It's about the life we're living right now, the choices we make, the loves we hold, and the direction we're turning day by day. As for what's next, well, I'm still reflecting on which book I'll take up in the next series. Perhaps Divine Love and Wisdom, or perhaps one of his shorter works as a transition to another year-long deep dive. Let me know in the comments what you might like me to cover. But whatever comes, I hope you'll join me again. And until then, may the Lord keep you in spiritual balance, hold your freedom sacred, and lead you gently, freely into deeper love and truer light. God bless you.